I personally don't believe there is a single company on the face of this planet that dislikes its consumers more than Nintendo. I have a Nintendo Switch 2, and I also have a day one Nintendo Switch. I also have my new Nintendo 3DS XL that I got on launch day. And I also have a modded Game Boy Advance. I've been a Nintendo fan since I was just a young kid. In the year 2000 for Christmas, I actually got my first Game Boy Color. I don't have it anymore, but it was a yellow Game Boy Color, and my brother and I, we were close to the same age. We both got Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver respectively. He got Gold, I got Silver, and that's where my Nintendo journey and my love for the company first started. I grew up in an all Nintendo household for the most part. I had the Game Boy Color growing up, and then I had the Nintendo 64, and then I had a Game Boy Advance SP, then the GameCube, then the DS, then the DS Lite, and DSi, 3DS, new Nintendo 3DS XL, the Nintendo Switch, and now the Nintendo Switch 2. I've had pretty much every single console from Nintendo, and I am so deeply pained by the nostalgia that I have for Nintendo. The love I have for Nintendo and the memories I have with those games, with those consoles, is so much stronger than Nintendo's ability to actually produce something that has some sort of soul in the year 2025. Right now, I am loving the Nintendo Switch 2. But the more I play this console, the more I realize how behind the times Nintendo actually is and how this console should have been what was released 7 years ago instead of the Nintendo Switch, which mine is a different color because I modded it. Why am I talking about this as an almost 30-year-old in 2025? Shouldn't I be in Excel spreadsheets and working a job? Yes, I do those things, but ultimately, the more I see Nintendo have directs, have different events, release different games, the more sad I become, the more I feel like my childhood is officially gone, and that nostalgic feeling for the older games is starting to diminish year over year. I grew up with a Game Boy Advance SP, my younger sister had a Game Boy Advance, but last year I wanted to go through and play some older Pokemon games, so I bought off Facebook Marketplace this modded Game Boy Advance system that has a new shell, it's got an IPS screen, it looks beautiful, it's fun to play. But the second I pop in a game like Pokemon Emerald, which is my original copy from when I was a kid, I can't help but feel like the nostalgia lasts for about 20 minutes, and then I'm just sad that I can't play this on a modern console. In 2000, I got Pokemon Silver. My brother got Pokemon Gold. I don't have my Silver cartridge anymore. I don't know where it is, but I have my brother's copy of Gold and I have my copy of Crystal. And I love these games so much, and I wish I had a way to play it on the massive screen that is the Nintendo Switch 2 or in some sort of updated fashion. While I have nostalgia for old video games, there is only a certain amount of times I can play these older games before I just lose that sense of excitement, that sense of fun when playing these games. And maybe it's because I'm conditioned to the newer games where there's new systems, there's fairy type Pokemon in the game, there's new visuals that when I go back and play these, they're starting to feel extremely old. And even though these are starting to feel extremely old, the games on this console, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, don't feel new. I feel stuck in this place of the old games are fun and they're nostalgic and I've got great memories of them, but they're challenging for me to play now because they feel so old. And the new games, while the story in Scarlet and Violet I thought was actually really great, the way the game ran on the original Switch was so poor that even playing it again on the Switch 2, it just wasn't as enjoyable as I would have hoped it would have been. And the more time I spend looking at the future of Nintendo and the games they've announced, the business practices they're utilizing, it just feels like they're focused on money rather than the actual consumer. Even looking at Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2, that bundled together being $70 is insane. I think Nintendo's peak when it comes to their consoles was the DS era. Not just 3DS or normal DS, but the entire start to finish DS to new Nintendo 3DS XL era. And I'm mostly a Pokemon fan. I'm a Nintendo fan, but I'm mostly playing Nintendo consoles for Pokemon specifically. And personally, I don't even think the Gen 4 and Gen 5 Pokemon games are my favorite. I know technically they're probably the best, most well thought out, but I'm a Gen 2, Gen 3 fan, but the fact that I could still, on a DS Lite, play those games as well as play the Gen 4, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I think when it comes to Nintendo consoles, they did a perfect job with this era of system, and I don't think, given what I've seen with the Switch and the Switch 2, that we will ever get back to the charm Nintendo had with the DS era of games. Anytime Nintendo does a Direct now, I feel like we're getting maybe a couple of new game announcements, but more announcements of just re-releases of old games that aren't really updated, but the price is updated. It's gonna run on the new console, but not run as well as it should to keep up with modern hardware like a Steam Deck or even a custom PC. And I know this is meant to travel and be portable, but with how big it is now compared to this was really a travel console. This, when I get on flights, it feels massive. And I love the big screen, but 99% of the time I'm playing this at my desk at home. I think I've just reached a point in my life. I'm almost 30 years old. I'm seeing Pokemon release games that are consistently getting worse, Nintendo releasing consoles that are consistently 5 to 10 years behind the trend. And I just get sad. I wish this magic from this era or this era could be captured again. And I keep buying these consoles hoping to fulfill that nostalgic feel, only to play games for about 20 to 30 minutes to just instantly feel disappointed. To be honest, since getting this Nintendo Switch 2, the game I have played the most is actually Nintendo Switch Sports. It's specifically been the golf game because that has triggered something in my brain to feel just so much joy, the same joy I felt back in 2008 playing Wii Sports for the first time. Nintendo Switch Sports was not released for Nintendo Switch 2. It was released for the original Switch. I just didn't start playing it till I got the Switch 2. And that's really what I've been having the most fun with. It's nothing new. 1 week from today, Pokemon is going to be releasing Legends ZA, and I'm extremely hopeful that that game is going to turn things around for me as a Pokemon fan and a Nintendo fan, but I'm not holding my breath. Pokemon Legends Arceus was actually a really great game. Even though I had a lot of fun playing it, it doesn't excuse the fact that it was still pretty unfinished. It was pretty empty. It didn't look that great. The flow of the game was fine. I thought the story was great, but it felt like it needed, honestly, like 2 to 3 more years to actually bake in the oven before it should have been released. Scarlet and Violet were clearly games that should not have been released when they were. They were completely unfinished. They did not run well. They run great on the Switch 2 now, but that doesn't excuse the fact that the games are pretty much empty. You can't go in almost any of the buildings. The story is actually really good. I loved the storyline, but the first time playing through it, I was not immersed in it at all because it ran at like 10 frames a second. So with Legends ZA, I'm so hopeful that this turns things around, but I fear it's going to be another game that is going to be undercooked. And then we're going to lead into Gen 10, and that's going to be undercooked, and we'll never actually get back to a place like Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5 that took their time to make excellent games. Because back then, I believe Nintendo focused on the consumer. They wanted to create a great product, leave people happy, wanting more to keep coming back, and now I feel like they do the opposite. They get an idea, they crank it out as fast as they possibly can and sell it for as high of a price as they possibly can, and people like myself still buy it because we are so gripped by nostalgia, the feeling we had when we were 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old. Now at almost the age of 30, I'm still searching for that feeling with a Nintendo game. So that was a thought I just had as I was sitting watching all the news with Pokemon and Nintendo come out. Being an avid player of my Nintendo Switch 2, I play this console every day on the go and at home, and I do enjoy it, but it just doesn't give me the same feeling that the older consoles did. So I'm hoping that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company can actually see the outrage and the frustration with their consumer base and start to put the consumer first again. It's painfully obvious that over the past decade, the consumer has not been put first, just shareholder value, which I understand it's a business, but I feel like something that has so much potential and nostalgia and great history of incredible games, I feel like they should be able at this point to focus on the consumer because they've got their billions of dollars. But again, I don't have billions of dollars. I know the more you have, the more you want. And as just a consumer of someone who loves the brand or loved the brand, especially growing up, I just want to see it get better again. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Have you felt the same way, or do you think Nintendo's actually doing a great job and that I'm just out of my mind? Let me know down below. I'd love to just have a conversation about this. And let me know if you want me to touch on any specific topics within Nintendo or Xbox or PlayStation. We can kind of hit them all, but let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and I just hope that Legends ZA coming up is an amazing game, because I really want it to be, and I just hope I don't get let down again.